Shocking, ridiculous, suspicious, and fun. Welcome to the Perfect Liars Club. You'll hear 4 stories, 3 of them true, but one of the suspects is lying to you.
Happy holidays from your charming friends at Perfect Liars Club. And for the holidays, we have a little treat for you. How the Grinch Stole Christmas. Perfect Liars Club. Every sleuth down in Sleuthville liked Christmas a lot, but the Grinch, who lived just north of Sleuthville, did not. The Grinch hated Christmas, the whole Christmas season. Now please don't ask why, no one quite knows the reason. It could be his head wasn't screwed on just right. It could be perhaps that his tooth was too tight. But I think that the most likely cause of his ire was his failure to catch any Perfect Liars Club liar. Whatever the reason, his head or his tooth, he stood on Christmas Eve hating the sleuths, staring down from his cave with a sour, grinchy frown at the warm lighted windows below in their town, for he knew every sleuth down in Sleuthville below was busy now polishing their Pinocchio nose. The elf's done his reporting, allegedly good. And now Santa's allegedly eating his food. They're hanging their stockings, he snarled with a sneer. Tomorrow is Christmas. It's practically here. Then he growled with his Grinch fingers nervously drumming. I must find some way to keep Christmas from coming. For tomorrow he knew all the sleuth girls and boys would wake bright and early and rush for their toys. And then, oh, the noise, 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 noise. It's from Santa, cry parents, so you've got to love it. From far off in Lapland, he knows what you covet. I love it, they'd cry, when they obviously didn't. It's just what I wanted, even though it just isn't. Then the sleuths young and old would sit down to a feast, and they'd feast, and they'd feast, and they'd feast, 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 feast. And they'd all pretend Uncle was funny and cool, and they'd all pretend Jimmy wasn't expelled from school, and they'd all fake a love for Gran's dreadful mince pies, and when anything's awful, they'd just avert their eyes. Then the sleuths young and old would sit down by a stage, and they'd lie and deceive, and they'd fabricate rage. And they'd talk of what happened, or did it, who knows? The sleuths, they all laugh, and their lying nose grows. US suspects claimed arrest at a high school party with a Z-list celebrity thinking he was a smarty. A police officer suffered inappropriate taunts while transporting an arrestee to an infamous haunt. A suspect was sacked by a surprise divorce, but the advice from his therapist was even worse. And then one girl signed up for a DNA test and found a half-sister, which wasn't the best. Tokyo suspects acted boldly to halt a cruel thief making off with rude costumes that beggared belief. The working girl next door went from sordid to sweet when a neighbour bribed her with a nice Christmas treat. In a rush to get home for a great Christmas day, one boy lost $30,000 of juice on the way. And another confronted his bully with glee. Or wait just a minute, did he really? Israel suspects report they got trapped in a house when their wheelchair got stuck in the space of a mouse. That some burglar was foiled and he got rather hurt when his thieving achieved just the ugliest shirt. That a drug-taking jaunt became even stranger when the drug-taker decided that he was in grave danger. And a family came just a little too close when a romance was brewing. Hey, measure that nose. And in London the sleuths wriggle round in their seats. Perfect Liars Club's coming and they're waiting for treats. The more the Grinch thought of this sleuth Christmas lying, the more the Grinch thought someone must end up crying. Why, since 2013 I've put up with it now. I must stop Perfect Liars from coming. But how? Then he got an idea. An awful idea. The Grinch got a wonderful, awful idea. I know just what to do, the Grinch laughed in his throat, and he made a quick Santa Claus hat and a coat. And he chuckled and clucked, what a great Grinchy trick. With this coat and this hat I look just like Saint Nick. Then he loaded some bags with electrical boxes, with lie detectors which promise that lies will be foxy. And Grinch pulled the reins and the sleigh started down, where all the sleuths lay all a snooze in their town. The sleuths were all dreaming of falsification, when Grinch came to a halt full of sweet agitation. "This is stop number 1, the old Grinchy claus hissed. And he climbed to the roof, lie detector in fist. And he slid down the chimney, a rather tight pinch. But if Santa could do it, then so could the Grinch. Then he stuck out his head of the fireplace flue, and he grabbed all his wires. "I know just what to do." Then he slithered and slunk with a smile most unpleasant around the whole room, and he wired every present. All the bicycles, roller skates, drums, and a ball. Those liars will be exposed once and for all. Then he slunk to the icebox. He spiked the sleuth's feast with a truth serum they weren't going to like in the least. Then he did the same thing to the other sleuths' houses, wiring them up for denouements and divorce of spouses. They're waking up now. I know just what they'll do. They'll elaborately lie, and then they'll feel blue when their lies are exposed, and they'll all cry boo-hoo. "That's a noise," grinned the Grinch, "that I simply must hear." So he paused, and the Grinch put a hand to his ear, and he did hear a sound rising over the snow. It started out low, then it started to grow. But this sound wasn't sad. Why, this sound sounded merry. It couldn't be so, but it was merry. Very. He stared down at Sleuthville. The Grinch popped his eyes. Then he shook. What he saw was a shocking surprise. Every suspect in Sleuthville was honing their lies to cheat the lie detectors right before the sleuth's eyes. And every sleuth down in Sleuthville was honing their craft, being shrewder and sneakier and much, much less daft. And the Grinch, with his Grinch feet ice cold in the snow, stood puzzling and puzzling. How could it be so? I tried to expose all the cheats and the lies, but they're just doing it better, with sparkling eyes. The sleuths are addicted. They want to puzzle the truth, not learn it from serums and machines uncouth. And he puzzled 3 hours till his puzzler was sore. Then the Grinch thought of something he hadn't before. Maybe sleuthing, he thought, is just fun in itself. Maybe we all want to be elf on the shelf. Hearing tall tales and cutting them down to size with the shrewdest of questions to catch the best lies. And what happened then? Well, in Sleuthville they say that the Grinch's suspicion grew delightful that day, and the minute he wasn't filled with lying-themed spite, he whizzed with his own tales through the bright morning light, and he leapt on the stage. He cried, "Listen to me!" and he told a tale that was crazy with glee. "That just can't be true!" cried the sleuthers as one. And then they came up with questions and revelled with fun. They fired out their questions to that crafty Grinch, and he won over his audience inch by inch. Then came the time for the Christmas time vote, and just 1/10 of the sleuths had suspected his quote. It was all a lie, he revealed with no ire. I was promptly crowned Sleuthville's festive perfect liar. Happy holidays, everyone. See you for more lying and sleuthing in 2018.
Shocking, ridiculous, suspicious, and fun. Welcome to the Perfect Liars Club. You'll hear 4 stories, 3 of them true.